Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning, the music collectors community. This is a quick tribute to Charlie Watts, who passed away sadly this week. Charlie Watts was, as some of the headlines are saying around the world, the rock behind the Rolling Stones. That steady metronome that kept everything together no matter what was going on front of stage. And I know for some rock fans, and I'm inspired by doing this video for rock fans who have grown up with like extravagant drum solos, drum kits that rotate upside down, flash bombs and loads of tricks that drummers can do with absolute skill, etc. And the fact is that some of you who perhaps weren't so connected with the Stones will wonder why Charlie Watts was such a special and in many ways irreplaceable musician. And it's a bit like many of our guitar heroes, whether it's Richie Blackmore, David Gilmour, Tony Iommi, etc., what links them all together from that period, all of those Jeff Becks, Jimmy Parkers, just keep going, is the blues. They were all influenced by blues players. Now for drummers, they were influenced by jazz. All the great drummers from that period were influenced by jazz. Whether it's Ginger Baker, Ian Paice, obviously the jazz drummers, but Charlie Watts was influenced by jazz. Bill Ward from Sabbath, you can almost feel the jazz in the early Sabbath albums. And I think Charlie Watts loved jazz, but he didn't want to do a drum solo. He didn't want to have a drum kit that was the size of a small container lorry. He just wanted a kit that he could play. I think in the rock world you might have people like Simon Kirke who just kept a steady rhythm, and that's what Charlie Watts was all about. But my exposure to the Stones, I knew about them, I was very young. I had a few of the singles and I'd heard them on the radio, but it was 1974 when I actually woke up to the Rolling Stones, and I was 15 years of age, and it was this single, It's Only Rock and Roll, but I like it, from the album It's Only Rock and Roll. And I bought this at 48p on the way home from school with my pocket money, and I just played it and played it and played it. And I was just starting to learn to play guitar then, and I played along with it, and I learned the guitar solo at the end, and I just absolutely loved it. And the video, when they appeared on Top of the Pops, where they just disappeared onto a mountain of soap suds, I just thought it was fantastic. And from there, I didn't really get involved with Rolling Stones albums. I just kept buying the singles. I bought Brown Sugar. All the Rolling Stones singles were still in print in those days. You just went back to the W.H. Smiths or whatever and just kept buying them. But the track that I also liked the most was the B-side of Brown Sugar, which was Bitch from Sticky Fingers. And if you're interested in that, get the deluxe version, because it's got the extended version of that with Eric Clapton on. But it's got a really hard rock riff, and Charlie Watts really pounds the beat on that, and you don't realise just how much, a bit like having the jazzy style of drumming from Bill Ward, how it influences the band really. So I'm going to be playing quite a bit of Stones, and if you're watching this, and I'm not going to presume you all know the Stones, like many of the videos will just presume this is a tribute to Charlie Watts, and I'm presuming you all know about the Stones. I'm actually presuming you don't. And so you don't know where to start. I mean, start with a compilation, because the Stones had hit singles, and they've continued to hit singles. And although some people would say they should have hung up their guitars a few years ago, every single album, right up until the most recent stuff, always has a couple of absolute gems on them. Voodoo Lounge has got some, it's great tracks on it. I'm just thinking what they were. Love Is Strong. Check out that video on YouTube when they're like giants moving across the New York skyline. And You Got Me Rocking. Brilliant rock track, that is. Absolutely fantastic rock track. Made in the Shade is my favourite compilation. It's all the 70s stuff wound up onto one fantastic record. So that's really good. And obviously Sticky Fingers, Exile on Main Street, Let It Bleed. And of course, Gimme Shelter, which I think at the time when I was doing this video, it was trending on Twitter. I mean, that is such an emotive track on every single level, that if you wanted to know why the Rolling Stones are unique, and at some points in time since popular music began, that is when all the stars were in alignment. And that song, and I've heard so many people cover it, and it just sounds like a really average rock song when someone else covers it. But when the Stones do it, and each of them bring their collective originality to it, it's like nothing else you'll ever hear. The emotion in that the female backing, the vocals, and Charlie Watts's backbeat. I think you can even find on YouTube the isolated drum track from that, and you realise that his jazz background was very much like a secret weapon. So, the other thing I'd just like to finally end on is I had a nice little message that was put on the Now Spinning music community on Facebook, and this is from Chris Wright, who's one of our contributors to the group as well and the website. And he said, Charlie Watts, a quiet storm of a drummer who, like Ringo, didn't go for flash, but kept time meticulously and provided a solid backdrop throughout the Stones' amazing musical evolution. By definition, one of the greatest drummers we've ever seen, and I would argue a subtle but powerful presence that will be totally irreplaceable. And I think that's absolutely true. I'm sure the Stones will carry on, but it will never be quite the same. He also had a wonderful dry sense of humour too, once joking that his first 25 years of life with the Stones was 5 years of actually playing and 20 years of hanging around doing nothing. I think many musicians will identify with that. His presence will be hugely missed, and we will all, of course, be reaching into our Rolling Stones libraries in the coming days, weeks and months, and playing those albums and singles again. So thank you very much for watching, and if you watch this and you find it today, give something a spin featuring the Rolling Stones, and if you find this video months from now, do the same. It will still hopefully carry the same oomph and message. So thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and thank you for supporting me in this channel, and I shall see you on my next video.